Welcome back to our Series 65 and 66 series. We're on Module 28. I'm Dan Marger, instructor. Very pleased to be working with you on this, and hope you're getting a lot out of it. Be sure to let us know, and especially once you take your test, let us know. We love to hear those good reports, so send them back to us. Take lots of practice exams, folks. There's no substitute for taking lots of practice exams. It's just, if you want to get good at swimming, you practice swimming. If you want to get good at running, you practice running. If you want to get good at taking tests, take tests, okay? It just goes without saying, but take one more, okay? One more. That's all you need to take, just one more. Take lots of them. Look at why you miss what you miss. We've talked about that before, but I keep going back and back to it because think about it, okay? If there are two or three questions that you could have gotten because you knew the stuff, it's just that you missed that little except or that but, or you saw always and you thought, well, some of the times this is it, so that's it. Maybe you didn't actually eliminate an answer when you should have just totally eliminated it. We talked about that. That put your 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, and if one is true, then one thing we know is if you're looking for true, all right, then the correct answer has to have 1 in it. If number 2 is false, then the correct answer simply cannot have 2 in it. So in the first case, anything does not have number 1, you eliminate it totally. Forget it. Scratch it out. In the second case, you have a false statement. Eliminate any answer that has that false statement. And sometimes you don't even have to know all of the answers to be able to use the process of elimination and find the correct one. All right, so just be sure and do that. Now let's say that there were 2 or 3 answers that you knew the stuff on the questions, but you missed it because you missed that except. And in fact, that's one of the things. Okay, all the following are true except. Do word math on the thing. What does true plus except equal? A lie. Okay, so all of the following are a lie. Turn it from that negative into whatever it is you're looking for. I'm not looking for true except, I'm just looking for a lie. So which of these are lies? Well, A's the truth, it's wrong. Okay? B, that's a lie. Oh, there we go, there's my answer, see? But turn it into whatever it is you're looking for. If you could have picked up 2 or 3 because you had read the question more carefully, most people who don't pass the test, it's not that they score a 20 on it. They miss it by 1, 2, 3 questions. Every question is huge. I mean, I make the comparison of any of you who have kids, you've gone to an Easter egg hunt, okay? And if not, you've seen them. You know what they do is that they always turn the little kids out first, and you know how they hide the little kids' eggs? They're right there in plain sight. I mean, you stand there, in the little area where the parents stand or the visitors stand. You're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Man, I can see. What's the prize? Like, they're right out in plain sight. Well, yeah, that's what you got to do for the little kids because they barely understand the concept of picking them up and putting in the basket. Okay? You've got to pick up those eggs. When you go to the testing center, you got to take the gimmies. Don't let those things go. How do you make sure that you pick up the gimmies? Okay? You look at why you miss what you miss. You question the question. Did I read it carefully enough? Did I see all of those words? I keep going back and back and back to that. It's a good song, folks. I'm going to keep singing it. All right? You need to do it because you can't afford to leave something laying on the ground that you could just pick up. All right, well, I've stopped preaching and gone to meddling, so let's just go ahead and move on back to the outline. We're on page 43, and we're looking at portfolio management strategies. And we start out with buy and hold indefinitely or until certain goals are reached. And there are certain stocks that people say, I want to be in this particular sector. This particular company is the cream of the crop. I just want to be here. That's valid. Okay? Generally, it's considered conservative. You'll have very low transaction costs because you never have any transactions. All right. Now, it also has a disadvantage of not necessarily being able to adapt to changing market conditions or changing economic conditions. You know, I mean, like I say, if you had said, well, you know, this personal computer manufacturer, why they create a quality product, whatever, they've got great finances, but then what happened with personal computers, you've seen the transition of that. Okay, you couldn't adapt to that if you had that type of strategy. But like I say, it for certain situations, it's very valid. Strategic management, what we do is we set the strategy, like with asset allocation, and then we rebalance to get back to that strategy. We've got a constant ratio plan, certain percentages in stocks, bonds, cash, foreign, big, small, whatever, however you want to break them up, or a constant dollar plan, typically associated with stocks versus cash, or stocks versus bonds and cash. Let's just go ahead and start drawing this out, okay? Because what we typically think of is that constant ratio plan. Okay, and so here's what my pie looks like in my 401k. Classic example, okay? I've chosen these 5 sectors. I think I've got 5 of them there, yeah. And that's the mix that I want. Now, as time goes by, that, you know, outperform, underperform, but what happens is that once a quarter, I'm going to come back and rebalance to those original percentages. Okay? As I add new money, I'll add them in that percentage breakdown. That's a strategic type. I'll set my strategy and I'll come back and rebalance. If I have a constant dollar plan, basically what I do is I say, okay, here's my portfolio, and this whole thing is going to get bigger and smaller, but the thing about it is, I want this to be in stocks. So if we have a good stock market year, I'm going to take some money and I'm going to put it out and into the other stuff. If we have a bad stock market year, then what I'm going to do is take some of the money out of here and put it back into my stocks so that I have a constant dollar amount in stocks. All right, so it's, like I say, just different ways of viewing things, all right? Then we also have passive or indexing. You've heard the expression, be the ball. Yeah, well, we don't want to beat the ball. We want to be the ball. We want to be the index. Yeah, we could go to a lot of work and maybe get an extra 1 or 2%, we say. But why go to all that extra work when it's so hard to beat the index as it is? Let's just buy index funds or ETFs. Very low cost, okay? And like I say, it's just associate that with indexing or index funds. And then you have tactical management. Now, tactical starts out with pretty much the same thing as we have up here. Okay? So let me erase our constant dollar plan drawing. And basically, what we do with strategic, we set this strategy and then we rebalance. Like I say, you do that a lot inside of your 401ks. If you look, though, a little bit deeper at what's going on, let's say that this is mid-cap stocks. All right. What's going to happen is that we're going to assess inside that mid-cap sector, and we're going to say, well, now, which mid-cap stocks really look like they're positioned for the best performance? Is it the high dividend, the low dividend? Is it maybe foreign? Is it maybe domestic? Is it value stocks or growth stocks? And what we'll do is that we'll have some trading activity in here to maximize each of these. We like our asset split. That's a good deal. It's just that which particular ones, we may change our focus, kind of a sub-focus, from one to the other in order to maximize the performance of each of those slices. So if you have tactical, then it's going to start out looking a lot like strategic, but it's going to have more trading as we switch from subsector to subsector and try to take advantage of those timing opportunities. I think there's a third one. inside each of the sectors. All right, so in any event, that's our tactical. It's going to have higher expenses. But hopefully, though, we'll be able to look for those opportunities, find those opportunities, and get superior performance. So what I've got on the outline is, instead of just rebalance, we were going to rebalance and refocus. Because from time to time, we'll probably need to bring it back into the big picture. But for, like I say, we'll have a different focus as we use different tactics within each of those splits, those asset splits. Higher turnover, higher costs, higher risks in that, but like I said, hopefully you get higher performance to show for it as well. With growth investing, we're going to be buying in anticipation of future earnings growth. All right, probably going to be paying higher price earnings ratios. With regard to expense ratios, probably going to be a little bit higher than, say, value stocks, where we look at the balance sheets. There's a lot more to look at, so there's a lot more research to do. We're going to probably have higher turnover, so higher expense ratios. All right, so but that's growth investing. Value investing, talked about it before, and we'll just reiterate. It's buying assets below their true value because of the actions in the financial markets. The actual value of the assets is so much, but the price of the stock says they're only worth that much. So if we buy the stock, we're actually getting those assets at a discount to their true value. It's going to take a long time, because if the market is undervaluing assets today, it's probably going to be doing it next week and next month as well. All right. Typically, you're going to have lower volatility with value investing. Typically, you're going to have longer holding periods, because sometimes it takes a long time for the marketplace to recognize those values. And so lower turnover, lower expense ratios. Then generally lower risk also than your growth investing, because you have something that's tangible that you can say, man, let the worst happen. This company's worth this much per share. All right, with growth is a little bit more ethereal, kind of out there. Okay, and then other considerations that we have, market capitalization. Unfortunately, I would really recommend that you look this over and familiarize yourself with the little breaking points in these things. Microcap, less than $300 million is considered a microcap. Typically going to have a fairly thin float. Typically going to have very low trading activity. Large spreads. Remember, we said an efficient market. We just described an inefficient market. You're going to have higher risks, because an extra $1 million of earnings, I mean, if it was Procter & Gamble, yeah, we had an extra $1 million earnings, yeah, okay. But if it's a little 300 million total capitalization company, well, gee, I mean, for crying out loud, that's a 30% of our total capitalization, and it's in earnings. Think about how we grew, okay? But then small cap, 300 million up to 2 billion. Again, those are associated with the Russell 2000. Mid cap, 2 billion up to 10 billion. Associate that with the S&P 400. And then large caps, over 10 billion. Associate that with the S&P 500. Smaller capitalization have more risk, more potential gains. But again, larger capitalization earnings, or companies have more stability, less volatility, therefore less risk, and less dramatic earnings growth potential. And then diversification among asset classes, the asset allocation that we talked about, just right up here. What that is, that's that modern portfolio theory. It reduces risk and actually enhances return. We've seen that because hopefully what's happening is that we're not taking those big hits that we have to recover from. Rather, by having different asset classes, when one class gets a hit, it has to take a hit, the others are going to hold up. And so we don't have as much ground to make up. That's how you can get there. That's modern portfolio theory. That's diversification among asset classes. And the more active a management style, the more transaction costs that the portfolio has to support. So again, sometimes if you have a 1% overperformance compared to an index, but you have an extra 1% in transaction costs, well, there goes your overperformance. You might as well have just done the index. So that's why a lot of people do that. Dollar cost averaging, it's used most often with mutual funds, and that's where we put in a fixed dollar amount into an investment at regular intervals, all right? And what that does is it results in lower break-even points than if we just took a mathematical average of the prices. You probably won't see a question on this, okay? But if you do, what I would do is that I would just take the prices that the guy bought it at and average them out, find the average, and then see if there's one answer that's lower than the number you came up with. And if so, you pick it. You just pick it, okay? So let's say that he bought this stuff at dollar prices of, I hope I can make it easy on myself here, okay? 20, 25, 30, 20, and let's see, where am I? I need to go to, what, 10 I think, or 15? I think that's going to be good for me. Okay, I got 5 purchases. There's 5, 10, carry the 1. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oops. Got a little bit carried away there. That's okay. 110, okay? If I divide that by 5, then I come up with 22 as my average price. The average of these prices is 22. My answer set is A, $24, B, $23.72, C, $22, D is going to be $21.83. That's the only one that's lower than this. I pick it. Okay? If you see one of those, see if you can't get by with that. If not, mark it for review, come back, do all the math, figure out what his average cost is, his break-even point. But his break-even is going to be lower than this average price. Okay? It's not magic, it's just math. It doesn't guarantee a gain, it doesn't guarantee against a loss, it's just math. And what it does is it lowers your break-even to a lower point than what the average of your prices that you paid are going to be. Then income reinvestment, again, typically you'll see this in mutual funds or in corporate dividend reinvestment plans or DRIP plans, and allows for compounding of earnings because you're taking those earnings, plugging it right back in and getting more, and then hopefully more and more as you get more shares that are paying the dividends that you're getting on a current basis. All right, let's see. So retirement plans and education funding plans. Not a whole lot of questions on these, but you do need to be familiar with them. The IRAs, you have the traditional and the Roth. Traditional, we use usually a pre-tax contribution, and then we get to deduct it, and then the Roth uses an after-tax contribution. Well, every dollar has its day, and so the traditional is going to be taxable coming out. The Roth, though, is not. Both of them offer the tax-free, tax-deferred growth. But like I say, that's when they come out, there's the big difference. The traditional is going to be taxable. The Roth is going to be tax-free. There are penalties for excess contributions, early withdrawal before 59 and a half, and then excess accumulation in the traditional IRAs only. See, that's because there's no payday for the IRS on a Roth. So if they're not going to get paid anyway, what the heck do they care if you leave it until you're 90? If you take it out, they ain't going to get paid. If you leave it in, they ain't going to get paid. No difference. But with the traditional, they're going to get paid one of these days, 70 and a half. You have to start taking those minimum required distributions, and that's something that's very important in your planning. So to contribute after 70 and a half, use a Roth plan. I'll tell you what, I got to brag about my father-in-law. He is just a great guy, okay? The guy just, like, literally a couple, 3 months ago, retired from the bank. Now, that's not significant, except when you stop to consider that he was also running 2 farms, and the fact that he was 90 years old. Oh, that I can be that active when I'm 90 years old to run 2 farms and work at a bank. All right? Yeah, I'm not kidding you. If he had wanted to contribute to a retirement plan, he would have had a Roth. It's his only choice. All right, a SEP, or a simplified employee pension plan. It's basically an IRA in a group environment with large contribution limits. All the other IRA rules are going to apply though. Okay, immediate vesting, so it becomes the employees. If they're before 59 and a half, they take it out. Going to get that 10% tax. The whole thing, okay? Because it's basically an IRA in a group environment with large contributions. A simple plan. The only thing I've heard about a simple plan in a question, and it does show up, maximum 100 employees, and it can be the only plan. That's it. That's the question that you'll see. A pension plan, you have defined contribution plans where we put in a certain percentage. A classic case of a defined contribution is a 401k. You put in a certain percentage of your earnings. Then you also have a defined benefit plan. I'll tell you this, if you see a question that says, typically a doctor, okay, he's going to be over 50 and he wants to maximize his contribution. That over 50 will drive you straight to the defined benefit plan. That's typically the question that we see on defined benefit. You have to have actuaries, blah, blah, blah. There are all kinds of rules. We don't care about the rules on the test. All we care about is the test question. Over 50, want to set up a plan, send them to a defined benefit. That's what the question is asking, okay? So tell you what, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and take a break here because it's going to take a little bit of time to get through some of these others. So we'll come back and pick up the others, but we're starting to wrap it up with the types of accounts and plans. So we'll see you then after a break. Thank you.